Hi guys, welcome to our daily encounter. When it comes to the spiritual life, I think perhaps a lot of times we think that the only thing that is of value when it comes to our walk with the Lord is the successes that we encounter. When we are successful, when we overcome, when we conquer, then we think that is the pinnacle of the spiritual life, and that's what it's all about. And likewise, when we think about failure or defeat, uh, maybe when things don't work out the way that we would hope that they would work out, that's always seen in a negative light, as though maybe there's something wrong with those type of situations, that nothing good can come out of defeat or failure. And we might dismiss those situations, only hoping for the next success or the next victory that we might experience. And it is true that, of course, the times of elation that comes from success and from victory and from overcoming certain situations is certainly a positive thing, and should be seen as a positive thing, can be used in a positive way in directing our hearts to God in thanksgiving and praise to Him for giving us the victory and the success. Definitely those times are valuable to the spiritual life and should be valued. But what we shouldn't do is think that the times of defeat and failure are of no use at all in the spiritual life. And in our reading today in the Old Testament, with Joshua and this conquest of the land that is beginning to take shape in the book of Joshua, we see both success and failure here at the beginning of the book. They go and in a very powerful and mighty way, the Lord gives them Jericho, which was a very fortified city, very strong, but the Lord caused the walls to fall down and for them to with relative ease, go in and conquer Jericho and utterly destroy it. But then only to fail at a little small town of Ai and not be able to overcome that town, even though they had just had victory over Jericho. And we might think that the only thing that was really valuable to the Israelites at this point was the success that they had at Jericho. And this event at Ai where they failed was of no use to them. It was not helpful at all. Now, we don't want to say that it was a good thing that they failed at Ai because it was based on sin. We don't want to say that it was a good thing that Achan took of the things that were banned and had violated God's commandments. Of course, that was not a good thing that he was involved in that. But it was a good thing that God allowed Israel to be defeated at Ai. It brought about some positive results. And these positive results that came from them being defeated at Ai are some positive results that might come when we meet failure, even if we meet failure for different reasons than the Israelites did. And so I thought it might be worth our time to kind of think about some positive things about failing, some positive things that can come out of defeat. And one of the things that comes out of it is a seeking of God. That's what caused Joshua to fall down on his face before the Lord after the defeat of Ai, and to really lift up his heart to the Lord and implore the Lord and seek the Lord in the situation, and trying to bring the situation to God, and the concern that he had and how this was going to look towards the other nations and things like that. He was desperately seeking the Lord in this situation. And oftentimes failure can cause us to wake up and begin seeking the Lord. Maybe we've been drifting, we've just been coasting through life, and maybe we encounter some type of situation where we had great hopes maybe for a particular thing and it completely unraveled, or we try to embark on some type of activity or something and we completely fell on our face and completely messed it up. Maybe we totally messed up a conversation that we wanted to have, a very important conversation we wanted to have with someone, the list could go on, and we just encounter failure. It's in those times that our hearts are stirred up and basically pushed in the direction of God, for lack of a better way of putting it. It just causes us to look up to God. When we see failure, it causes us to seek the Lord. And oftentimes when we fail, it also leads to introspection that perhaps we wouldn't have had we experienced success. Had we experienced success, we may have just rode the wave of success and not really look to see what was going on within us, not to look at our lives and reevaluate our situation, but we would just kind of ride that wave of success and not ever really look deep within ourselves at what's going on within. And a lot of times when there is failure, it allows us space to really stop and think, what am I doing? What are my true values? How did I mess up in this situation? How could I have treated this person differently that would have led to a more positive result? Failure oftentimes just allows us to kind of draw within for a little bit. And that's not a bad thing, to kind of look within and do some inventory and kind of reevaluate where we are. And then also failure can lead to positive change. And this kind of follows off of this introspection, in that when we fail, it causes us to pause. It causes us to seek the Lord. It causes us to really reevaluate things. And a lot of times in that reevaluating things, it leads us to make positive change in our lives. In the situation of the Israelites under Joshua's leadership, it caused them to get rid of perhaps a problem that might have infiltrated the whole camp, and would have caused a whole lot more problems in the years to come had they not been able to deal with it decisively right there at the beginning. And so they were able to deal with Achan and his family, who had rebelled against God, in a very decisive way and prevent future catastrophes from happening. And that might happen with us with failures. As we fail and we mess up, we can look at what's not right in our lives or what we're doing wrong, what we could do better, and we can make those changes in our lives and those adjustments and kind of recalibrate some things and get back on the right track. And maybe by kind of falling 2 steps back, we might jump forward 10 steps because we make that positive change that propels us forward. And then failure also takes the trust away from us and onto God. That certainly became the case with the Israelites here in the story. God had given them great success in Jericho, but then they go to try to overcome this small town of Ai. Same people, same equipment, same talents, same ability, but failure at Ai. And we also read that in our reading today that they actually do eventually succeed. Once the problem with Achan is dealt with, they are actually able to go into Ai and actually overcome it in a very decisive way, which would have been a very good lesson for them to say, you know what, it's not about how talented we are, how well equipped we are, how much experience we have in battle. It's really about God, whether God wants us to win or doesn't want us to win. We have to utterly depend on Him. And failure helps us to remember that. If we constantly succeed all the time and we never mess up and we never fail and everything always goes the way that we want, eventually it's going to lead, or it could lead, to us to begin to trust in ourselves and say, oh, I must have it all together. I must be a very good person, or I must be very talented, or whatever the case may be. And a little bit of failure, a little bit of defeat reminds us, hey, I got to put my trust in another person. I got to put my trust in God and not in myself. So there's a lot of positive things that can come from failure. So if there's anyone who's watching who is perhaps experiencing failure right now, or just experienced failure, or maybe in the future experience failure, remember these positive things that can come out of it. It can lead to us seeking God more. It can lead us to have some introspection and reevaluate things. It can lead to positive change in our lives as a result of that. And it can help us not put our trust in ourselves, but place our trust where it really belongs, in God. So these are some things we can reflect on and think about as we do our reading today. With that, guys, I do thank you for watching the video today. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.